Today I'm going to tell you about how cycling helped me change my career from being a teacher to being a data analyst at the age of 50. I'm going to run through the 3 reasons that cycling helped me change my career and the 2 things that I've learnt from making that transition. But first I'm going to give you a bit of context. I started teaching in 2006 and trained to become a secondary school teacher in the UK, teaching biology and chemistry. My background is as a biologist and I studied biology at university. I absolutely love teaching biology. I've always been passionate about the subject. I think it's the most interesting subject in the world. And I also really enjoyed working with young people. They are always so entertaining. So if you're watching and you happen to have been one of my students in the past, I just want to say thank you for giving me such a fun time. Never a dull moment. I taught biology for 16 years, and towards the end of that time, I started to feel a little bit stale and a little bit bored. And I was approaching the age of 50 and I was thinking, I'm not sure I want to do this for another 17 years until I reach retirement age. But I'd been in education for such a long time, I really didn't think I was qualified for anything else. Education is a bit of a bubble, and it's easy to think that your skills are not transferable, and I honestly felt that I wasn't qualified to do anything else. Maybe you're a teacher watching and you can resonate with that feeling. I can reassure you now that it's not true, but at the time I actually really felt quite stuck and that I wasn't qualified or able to get into any other sort of industry. I also need to give you a bit of background into my cycling journey. So I started cycling 6.5 years ago, back in the middle of 2019. And the reason I bought a road bike then was the realisation that I was really unfit and that I wanted to do something about it. I'd had a go at doing the Couch to 5K running challenge, and all that happened was that I got niggles and pains in my knees, in my hips, in my feet, and I've never really enjoyed running all that much. So I started going out for little bike rides on my heavy old steel hybrid as a way to recover from all these persistent injuries. It was out on one of those bike rides when I'd stopped halfway up a hill because I felt like my lungs were bleeding and I was going to die, that I saw 2 people cruise past on road bikes having a chat. And I thought, wow, they can go up a hill and talk at the same time. And I thought to myself, why don't I just get a proper bike and see what happens? So I went to Evans in Guildford and I used the Cycle to Work scheme to buy myself my first road bike, which is a Specialized Ruby, which is black with little disco flecks of glitter in the frame, hence the name Sparkly Bits. And I never looked back. Although I'm very fit now, at that time, I genuinely hadn't done any exercise for 20 years. I was 47 years old. So getting a bike at that point really transformed my life. And I took to it straight away. Evans in Guildford at the time had a series of shop rides led by a guy called Steve Savello, not his actual name, the name of his bike. I still don't know what his actual name is, but anyway, he was really instrumental in getting me into road cycling. So I would meet them at the store every Sunday and on a Thursday evening. And we had some really good no-drop group rides. And that really taught me how to cycle, how to ride in a group. And I just fell in love with it straight away. So the backdrop for today's story is a nice A to B ride from Guildford to Paddock Wood, where I'm going to meet my partner and his family for lunch. It's about 95 kilometres and it's going to take me from Surrey through to Kent along some roads that I've never ridden before, so I don't know what I'm going to find, but it should be a good route. During that first summer of 2019, riding my road bike with Evans, I had some fantastic rides and I was able to build up my skills and experience pretty quickly. Being able to learn from others really helped in that journey. And I just found the sensation of going fast on a road bike just so liberating, so emancipating. And I just felt so much better than I had been feeling because I was starting to get a little bit of fitness. It just made me feel mentally and physically so much better. After a few months, I plucked up the courage to venture out on a club ride with Charlotteville Cycling Club, which is Guildford's cycling club. It was a little bit intimidating to start with because all the rides are fairly long. The average speed seemed ridiculously high. So it was with great trepidation that I approached them and said, could I come along and ride with you? And they were very welcoming. And my first ride was absolutely fine. And before I knew it, I was buying club kit and going out with them regularly. And again, joining a club is a really good way to get into road cycling properly, because there's so much to learn from other people. One of the tools that really helped build my confidence in road cycling was Strava. It's an excellent app which you can use to track your rides. You get a little map of where you've been, but importantly, for me at least, you can also keep a track of how many miles you've done and how fast you did them. And every time you do the same stretch of road or a segment a little bit faster, it gives you a little gold medal to show you that you've got a personal best on that segment. I, like many other people, found that extremely motivating. I'm very susceptible to a bit of encouragement, even if it's from a computer. So I enjoyed seeing how my fitness was improving. And it wasn't long before I'd bought a heart rate monitor just to add to the picture of my fitness. It also wasn't long before little trophies started to appear on my rides. I found that really motivating because I had no idea that I would be cycling fast enough to put myself in the top 10. I'd been quite sporty at school and at university, and having not done any sport for 20 years, it was quite something to have that sporty competitive streak reawoken. What that Strava feedback did, along with the real life encouragement of people in the club, was waken an inner athlete that had been laid dormant for a very long time. And then in 2021, the club riding picked up again, and I was well into riding with Charlotteville. And I was encouraged, particularly by my partner Jules, to give racing a go. So what that involved was getting myself a race licence, which is very easy to do. You just buy one from British Cycling. And then the harder bit was plucking up the courage to sign up for a circuit race at Hillingdon. So I did my very first race in April of 2021. It was a Cat 4 race, open, which means it's open to men and women. In reality, what that means is I was the only woman and there were about 35 men. And I have to say, it was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. It was like being inside a washing machine filled with Persil-smelling lycra and being whizzed around in a centrifuge at about 42 kilometres an hour. And needless to say, I only managed to hang on for one lap, but I'm quite proud of that fact. And then I got spat out the back, but I carried on and did the race as a solo time trial, and I survived. It was completely exhilarating, terrifying, and I thought I must be out of my mind. But I'm pleased I did it. It opened up the prospect of more racing, and it was really quite exciting. I was slightly traumatised by that first Hillingdon experience, and it took me a while to pluck up the courage to sign up for another race. But eventually I did, and I ended up doing quite a few circuit races that year. So I did several at Thruxton, again in the men's Cat 4, an utterly terrifying experience in some respects. Also, one of the most exhilarating things I've ever done. And I remember the first Cat 4 men's race that I did, where I managed to stay with the race for the entirety of the hour. I also managed to find some women's racing, and that was a much more appropriate place for me to be, because what I was preparing for was the Tour of Cambridgeshire, which is the qualifier for the World Championships run by UCI. So in June 2022, I went to Cambridgeshire and I had a fantastic race. I was targeting a time of about 3 hours, and to my delight, I ended up coming third, which automatically qualified me for the World Championships. And I got to stand on a podium and I thought, wow, this is a dream come true. It wasn't even in the list of available dreams. So in September, I went to Italy with Jules and my 2 daughters, and we had an absolutely fantastic weekend. And honestly, it was the best ride of my life. The atmosphere was amazing. I just couldn't believe I was there. I got to wear GB kit with my name on it. And it was just a brilliant experience. I knew it wasn't going to be fast, but I just treated it like a fantastic day out on the bike. The first climb was something like 25 kilometers. It took me about an hour and a half. And I remember getting to the top of that first climb and thinking, wow, I can't believe I'm here. And I thought, if I can do this, really I can do anything. I can do anything I want. So if you're someone who's got a racing itch, doesn't matter how old you are, there is a race out there for you somewhere. I would strongly recommend you have a go at doing it. I carried on racing in 2023. The highlight race for that year was racing in Guildford's town centre race for Charlotteville Cycling Club. I chose that moment to end my short, sweet racing career, but the cycling adventures have continued. So what has this got to do with career change? Well, I've got 3 reasons why cycling helped me change careers, and I'm going to give them to you in reverse order. So the third one is to do with learning. So what getting into cycling told me was that learning new skills is really invigorating. So there was everything to learn about it. I didn't know anything when I started. I couldn't have named the parts of a bicycle. I wouldn't have been able to change an inner tube. I didn't know how to clip in. I didn't know how to change gear. You name it, it was new to me. And so being on that journey of learning new things and acquiring new skills just makes you feel alive again. The second reason that cycling helped me change careers was to do with community. So joining the cycling world just massively expanded my community. And I've met so many wonderful people and grown a whole new network of people who are not just united by their love of cycling, but who are also involved in loads and loads of other jobs and careers and professions. It makes you realise that there are other possibilities out there beyond the safe cocoon of teaching, where I had been in my comfort zone for a very long time. That kind of encouraged me to consider what steps I might take to get out of that comfort zone. So the number one reason that cycling helped me change career, and by far the most important, was that it gave me confidence. It gave me confidence to feel the fear, but take a leap into the unknown anyway. And it was at the top of the mountain in Italy when I'd had this insight that actually I could do anything, that I made the decision to put in an application to do a 6-month online programme in data analytics run at the London School of Economics. And the online nature of it meant that I could do that alongside my teaching job. I was so inspired to make my move out of teaching and into data analytics that I actually handed in my notice at my school before I had a job offer to leave to at the end of the year. And I thought, well, if I hand in my notice, I'll have to find another job, and that will motivate me, which is quite a brave way to look at it. Some would say foolish. And then come the Christmas holidays, I had a complete loss of confidence and spent quite a lot of time crying my eyes out. And my career coach, Tracy Schuff, really helped me to regain my balance, trust the process, and set about searching for my new job in a sensible way. And the support of career coaching on the course was a massive factor in making it a success. So I landed my first job in data analytics. In August 2023, I started working for AssessTech, which is a software company that sells competence management software to the railway industry. I joined as lead data scientist, and I then went on to become director of development and data analytics. What I learned from that experience was that my skills from teaching were much more transferable than I expected they would be. In fact, being a bit older, in my case 50, and experienced in many respects in the ways of the world and how to interact and communicate with people is a huge asset which should not be underestimated. So if you're in midlife and somewhat bored of your career, then please do consider the prospect of changing career, because you do have more to offer than you realise. In January 2025, I started working for NHS England as the senior analytical lead, looking after the team of analysts who provide analytical support for primary care, community services, public health and operational planning within the region. And it's a great job. I absolutely love it because it's really varied. I get to work with a really talented, intelligent group of people, and I particularly enjoy working with our stakeholders in the region, trying to understand what they need, and then working with our analysts to make sure we deliver a product that's useful to them and gives them the insights that they need to support the NHS in our region. Working in the NHS is not without its challenges, particularly at the moment with the political climate that we're in, but I'm really pleased to be here, and it's a real privilege to work in healthcare. So it's a job I really enjoy, and I have absolutely no regrets about leaving teaching and going into data analytics. I'm glad I took the plunge. Let me know in the comments if you've made a career change, particularly at a later stage in your life. Or let me know if you are planning to make a change and are just in the process of plucking up the courage to do so. All I can say is please go for it. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't. And this brings me on to the two things that I've learned from making my career change at 50 that I'd like to share with you. Number one is that it's never too late to try something new. Age just doesn't come into it. It's very easy to be put off when you hit middle age and you've been in your comfort zone for a long time. It does take a little bit of courage and a leap of faith to try something new, but don't let age be an excuse. That's all I can say on that matter. And the second thing I've learnt is that there is a fine but very happy line between order and chaos. And finding that line can make life very satisfying and rewarding. Having order in one's life is, on the whole, a very good thing. We all thrive with routine and stability and stable, loving relationships and a secure home, a community, and a base from which to explore the world. But too much order has the potential to make you feel bored and like you have nothing to aim for. On the other hand, chaos can be a very negative force in your life, and I am no stranger to episodes which have been truly chaotic, very stressful, and have been really hard to get through. And I know it sounds a bit corny, but episodes of bad chaos do tend to teach you things which make you a little bit more resilient the next time something goes wrong. On the other hand, chaos comes in many positive forms, and I would describe these as challenge or adventure or ambition. And there are plenty of ways you can add a bit of positive chaos into your life to give it that little bit of excitement that will prevent you toppling into boredom. And I think the key to finding the right balance between order and chaos is to be completely honest with yourself about what you want to do with your time. And this ties into having the confidence to try new things, because it's only by trying new things that you discover activities and interests that you really enjoy that you didn't know that you would enjoy. So diversity is the key here. You've got to get out there and try different things. And then when you recognise something that you really enjoy, that's where you can point your nose for adventure towards. You know, you're in Kent when you've seen an oast house. This part of Kent is beautiful. The Garden of England, Kent is. I'm nearly at my destination near Paddock Wood, and I'm really looking forward to a Sunday roast with my partner and his extended family and a lift back to Guildford afterwards. The riding through Kent has been absolutely glorious. I've had a fantastic time. So in a nutshell, cycling helped me change my career from teacher to data analyst by showing me the joy of learning new things and acquiring new skills, by introducing me to a whole range of new communities, and by giving me the confidence to take the leap into the unknown and try something new. And the lessons I've learned from going through that transition are that you're never too old to try something new, and that finding the right line between order and chaos with the right amount of adventure, excitement and challenge is the secret to a happy and productive life. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on my next cycling adventure.